Grief is a funny thing. It's like a cat wearing diapers. You want to laugh, but you can't. You just feel bad. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Uncle Ronnie Show. My name is Uncle Ronnie. Thanks for joining us today. And if you could have told by the thumbnail, today's topic might be a little bit serious. Okay. So, the thing is, a couple months back, my dad died. It's true. He died after a long battle with a horrible disease. And it didn't originate in his ass. I'll just let you know that. Dad would have wanted me to say that the disease did not originate in his ass. So let's get that straight. But the fact remains, he lost his battle with the disease and he died. And I was, and still am, very, very sad. And I wanted to talk about it for just a minute, if you'll indulge me. So, after my dad died, it was pretty hard. Dad died on January 21st, 2025. And after he died, I uh, did a lot of drinking. And I thought, well, it feels cliche, but I was doing a lot of drinking. And I just kind of thought that's what grieving people did. And I thought it would make me feel better. But in reality, it made me feel like shit. Hammered shit. So I drank and I drank and I drank some more. And then it was Mardi Gras time here in Louisiana. And so I was at a Mardi Gras parade and I just looked at the beer I was drinking. It was probably my 10th or 11th. And I said, you know what? This is not making me feel any better. This is just making me sad about my dad. So I put the beer down. Well, I may have finished it, but I put it down and I try not to pick up another one since then. And I have to say, grieving does not get better when you're drunk. And the interesting part that I wanted to talk about was the odd feelings one has as they're coming out of grief. Because I feel like I'm turning a corner and I'll never forget Dad. Of course not. And I miss him every day. But I think I'm turning a corner as far as the grief is concerned. But I felt this really intense feeling of guilt as I was coming out of grief. Sort of like I'd betrayed my father. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? I felt like I was obligated as his son to carry around the visible sadness for the rest of my life. And then when I wasn't, when I would laugh again. So I felt this intense feeling of guilt that kind of sent me back down a grief spiral. I was feeling bad about feeling better. We'll be right back.
Come on down to Crelatia's Psychic Centre, 6428, West Esplanade next to the old Scuttlebutts. Have Madame Crelatia read your fortune and predict your future? Want to know when you die? Want to know when your colon will turn on you? Want to know who will win the next season of Naked and Afraid? Madame Crelatia will tap into the great beyond and answer all of your questions. That's Crelatia's Psychic Centre next to the old Scuttlebutts. Come, if you dare.
But something that helped me come out of that spiral was thinking about what Dad would have wanted. You know, Dad was the kind of guy who didn't want anybody making a fuss over him. He kept to himself. He played his cards close to his chest. And I would say that if Dad were here right now and saw me teary-eyed in the corner, he'd say, "Hey, Ronnie, chin up, buddy. This too shall pass." He wouldn't want me to be sad. He'd want me to move on with my life. He'd want me to share what I've learned about grief with others. He'd want me to go to the swamp room and have a swamp burger, 5400 Veterans Memorial Boulevard, home of the hottest chicks on vets. And he'd want me to not get lost in myself. I think that's an important thing to think about because it's very easy to think that your tragedy is the only tragedy. Everything bad in the world is only happening to you. And you got to think bigger, guy. You got to think bigger because the fact of the matter is there are horrible things happening all over the world to everybody. And everybody's carrying their share of pain. And you got to carry yours. And you because I was extremely close with my father. He was my best friend. But I read something that said grief is just love with nowhere to go. And that hit me real hard. Grief is just love with nowhere to go. And I believe it. I truly do because, I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling bad. I miss my dad. But all this grief I feel is just the love that I still have for him. So it's important you find a way to channel that. That's kind of why I started the Uncle Ronnie Show. We're not just here talking about guys whacking off next to their brothers. We're not. It's more than that. I want to talk about real things. And, the death of my father was obviously something very real. Hey, if you're going through some grief and you're feeling like maybe alcohol is the way to solve it, take it from Uncle Ronnie. It's not, pal. It's not. It's only going to make you feel worse. But you know what? I'm the last person to tell anybody to stop drinking. I spent the most of my life drunker than Cooter Brown, really. So I'm not judging you. If you feel like you need to cope this way with some booze, hey, buddy, go get a drink. But I'm going to tell you, in the long run, it's not going to make you feel any better. Hey, I appreciate you listening to me. I miss my dad. I miss him every day, and I'll never see him again. But the only way through this is forward. I really appreciate you listening to me today. I love you, and I'm here for you. See you next time.